Not going off on auto mute. Hey y'all. Okay, so I feel like it's the weekend. I was watching football today. It's feeling like a Saturday night. I watched the CFL where just the Mayors play. I don't know if y'all saw Coach Prime today, but he was sporting a Stampede hat. The Stampede is a CFL team that I think Matt Vassar, remember, I think the punter, that's who he plays for. So they said that Coach Prime was repping, you know, the CFL because we have players there. And I noticed the Stampede was liking Shedeur's post, liking other Buffs players' posts. So they showing love to the Buffs. I was like, is there at all a possibility? I'm like, is it possible for Coach Prime to have equity in the CFL? Is it? I don't know. I don't know if you can do business like that with a sports league across borders, but ESPN has a relationship or like 20% partnership in TSN, which I told you about last week, is really just ESPN in Canada. It's just called the Sports Network, and they use the same font in TSN instead of ESPN. So, uh, is it possible? You know, is it possible? Because I told y'all, I noticed. What did I say? I noticed last week that they weren't saying the guys want to get to the NFL. They say the next level. And I said, that's interesting, right? Why isn't he saying NFL? And I want Coach Prime to start his own league. But what better way to get up and running, to get equity in an existing league, to be an owner investor? And I said, it wouldn't work with the UFL or the XFL, whatever's in these states, because the NFL uses one of them like a G League. And I think it's the one that The Rock owns. So that's a no-go, right? But then there's Canada. We have two players in Canada. Coach Prime not showing love to the CFL with the hat. It's a particular team, the Stampede. They just put stamp on the hat. And I said, wait a minute, that's the same team I saw liking the post I know of Sheduer and somebody else. I can't tell you who else it was, but it stuck out for me because it was Sheduer. But remember, there's a team in Canada that has first rights, the Argonauts. It's not the Stampede. So I don't know. Again, he didn't have on a CFL hat. He had on a Stampede, and yes, Mark Bassett is there. Yes, that is the next level. Maybe it explains because we're going to show love to the CFL because they're recruiting our guys. Maybe we want to make sure we have that relationship with the CFL if the NFL tries it again. I'm not mad. But they need to get ownership stake in one of those teams, right? Because we want to make sure, there's just not another NFL up north. And speaking of the NFL, Miss Pamela sent me an update, a second lawsuit against the NFL, this time for racial discrimination by a head coach, as is now a class action lawsuit, has moved forward. We just talked about Gruden moving forward his case, even though his is the exact opposite. He was the one with the racist emails with the misogynistic tones and also the language and verbiage, homophobic and racist, right? And we were shocked that his case moved forward because we talked about the book Turf Wars, and we talked about how well connected the NFL has positioned themselves to be so that they don't grab the attention of what? The White House, Congress. So they try to fly under the radar. But one of the things that has also happened, and I was like, is it a weekend? That's why I'm thinking this happened on a Saturday. It's Thursday. They didn't deliver this information on Friday and duck off. You get a whole day to talk about this. And the judge that moved the case forward in the Second Circuit Appeals Court is out of Manhattan, where the swanky offices of the NFL is. That's their backyard. So a judge in their backyard also ruled that Brian Flores does not have to use arbitration that the NFL was trying to force him to use. Just like they were trying to force Gruden. Gruden got a green light via appeal. Brian Flores filed his lawsuit for racial discrimination in 2022 against 3 teams. One of them you should not be shocked by, and they about to be in trouble. This is karma, ladies and gentlemen. One of them is the New York Giants. I'm like, there we go. For what they did to Sheduer, that's your karma. The second one is the Denver Broncos. Let us not forget how many times I told y'all what they did to Marlon Briscoe. The exact same thing they're doing to Sheduer. I don't care how good you are. We don't want you to be our quarterback and try to switch him off to another position for him to stay in the league. That was 1968, but they did the same thing to Terrell Pryor. This time it was Vegas. Or I guess the Oakland Raiders at the time. So now the third team, surprise, surprise, is the Houston Texans, where CJ Stroud is. I said, let me look up and see when they hired D'Amico Ryans. Brian Flores filed his case in 2022. They hired D'Amico Ryans in 2023. Now, what did I say? If you remember me saying, the NFL started out with 6 head coaches before the season started, and now they're 4. And we see how they were leaning on Mike Tomlin because they was trying to get to 3. D'Amico Ryans is still over there, but they messing with his team. Look what they did to CJ Stroud last year. They also did it to DeMeco Ryans. I think it's DeMeco Ryans. That negatively affected him too, right? So that's another one. So they were really trying to go from 6 to 4 and sabotaging Ryan's team and Mike Tomlin, putting Aaron Rodgers there, and everybody like, oh, he the one that's going to get Mike Tomlin fired. That's why they forcing him there. That will mean they will go from 4 to 2. Currently, Brian Flores is a defensive coordinator for the Vikings. He said he was hesitant to file his lawsuit because he knew it would upend the coaching career that he loves so much. He said, but it was worth it for the future generations of head coaches. So why did the judge move the case forward? She said because of the evidence they brought forward after claiming the NFL is rife with racism. She said it was troubling. I sure wish I could see it. She used the word troubling. And then she said, when you look at the fact that the NFL has almost no black head coaches because they've been whittling away, and now they're attacking the other 2 I just mentioned, Ryans and Tomlin. They trying to get down to 0. And here comes this case. I was like, is Cleveland in one of these teams? Because please, Lord. I was like, damn it, we just gonna have to sue Cleveland straight up. But you know you can. You know you can. You know you can. Because the cases are moving forward. And I said, okay, what is the implication of this right now? It means to me, the NFL are sitting down somewhere. They need to leave Sheduer the hell alone. I don't know what other message you need than a racial discrimination case that you tried to force through arbitration for somebody that currently works for you and you lost. It can move forward. Let us hear the evidence that the judge out of Manhattan, where the league is located, let us hear the evidence that is troubling. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. I wish we could see what they have for discovery. The implications for Gruden moving forward and getting past arbitration, and Brian Flores with racial discrimination and getting past arbitration. Of course, the NFL is like, well, we disagree. Sure, disagree all you want. But 2 judges in 1 week have moved forward cases beyond arbitration. And this judge said having the case to go to Roger Goodell to be heard via arbitration is not a process. They have no independent process. I said, oh, what are the implications for the collusion case that the NFL was found guilty of colluding in January, but there were no damages? I wonder if those 3 players can bypass arbitration and go straight to court. They should be able to, because arbitration in the NFL is not a court of law, so it's not double jeopardy. This is huge. This means that the arbitration process, which is meant to intimidate players from filing grievances, is null and void right now. That means all of these players that's been quiet for years, whether you are a former NFL player or a current NFL player with a grievance, you can go straight to court. The current grievance process is not constitutional. It's not bilateral. It's not independent. It's just in name only with Roger Goodell as the person that you have to go before. Why would Roger Goodell have the best interest of anybody filing a grievance when his allegiance is to the 32 owners? I'm sure if they want to fire him, they can. I'm sure he's been in that role since what, 2011, 2009, somewhere in there, for a reason. This right here says stop. Stop playing with Sheduer. For the people ready to welcome Gruden back, now you got 3 head coaches that joined together that have a class action lawsuit for racial discrimination that the judge in Manhattan said is troubling their case. This is a victory for them to move forward and don't have to adhere to the NFL's in name only arbitration process. They don't even have a procedure. This ought to be good for that other case too, meaning the one in January that the black quarterbacks filed saying they were being colluded against, because they were. To say that there were no damages does not mean that the NFL was not guilty of collusion. And I told y'all, the report that the FBI was investigating any aspect of the NFL, starting with the NFL Players Association, was quite strange and interesting and meant they don't have protection like they thought. And in 1 week, 2 cases can go past arbitration, not have to go through arbitration. It can go through the courts. Now, they could get hung up over there. It could. But the fact that there are judges willing to rule against the NFL and the FBI is supposed to be looking around, quite interesting. One case is racial discrimination, and it's a class action lawsuit. The same thing people are pondering, getting together and filing a class action lawsuit, be it against Cleveland. I wouldn't even sue the NFL. I go straight for Cleveland. I go straight for the Cleveland Browns with a class action lawsuit. Somebody asked earlier today, can the fans file a lawsuit on behalf of Sheduer? You can file a lawsuit on behalf of being a fan. You don't even have to consider arbitration. But if the evidence is troubling, it's going to move forward. I think the lawsuit filed by Eric Jackson included an example of racial discrimination by Brian Flores. So if his case moves forward, that means it should mean that Eric Jackson's case is not frivolous and can move forward. And if the evidence is troubling in Brian Flores' case, and if the evidence is troubling in Lamar Jackson's case, where he was colluded against by 32 teams, and the case is about Shedeur Sanders being colluded against by 32 teams, it's a slam dunk. He just has to get discovery. But they already have evidence in the Brian Flores case. Now, that's specific to coaches. The case in 2021 for race norming was violating the civil rights of African-American or Black NFL players. That's racial discrimination. This is the second racial discrimination case in less than 5 years. Sheduer's is the third. About the draft, the way the NFL does business, that's the third. It proves that what Brian Flores is saying, the NFL is rife with racism, and how a lot of people are also trying to get Gruden back. It proves it. I said that yesterday. It proves the NFL is racist if you're trying to bring somebody back that was racist. You trying to get him back at the same time you trying to kick on Sheduer because you don't want him to lead you because he's Black. This is huge. The implication is huge. The implication means whatever Eric Jackson put in his lawsuit for discrimination to prove that the NFL is discriminatory, has discriminatory practices, history, current, modern, yesterday, should be able to move forward. That's what it means. Because you can't say the NFL didn't collude against Sheduer, but they colluded against Lamar Jackson. You can't say the NFL is only racist against Brian Flores and all NFL players were race norming and not say that they weren't being racist when they colluded against Sheduer. It's all together. It's all together. This is huge. Again, it could get to the next level and not go nowhere, but the NFL didn't think it would win here. They feel like they can force people who work for them through a process that is not independent, that has to go before Roger Goodell and get nowhere. That's intimidation. Don't even try to sue us because you're going to be forced through arbitration. Well, not anymore. Not anymore. I just want to see the evidence that's troubling. It's probably a pattern. But the fact that 2 of the 3 teams that he's suing, he's not just suing the NFL, he's suing these teams independently. One did the same thing that we see happening to Sheduer, to Marlon Briscoe. That means Terrell Pryor has a case. Lamar Jackson has a case. Anybody they tried to switch off as a wide receiver when you came in as a quarterback, you have a case. Vince Young, trying to ruin his career and turn him into a pure pocket passer. The plantation is burning. That's the implication. When judges start ruling against the NFL at the lower level, it's huge. And even if these 2 lose their cases at the next stop, it just opens the door for other people to file and not be hindered by arbitration, which is what has kept the numbers of lawsuits from within internally low. This is huge. And the fact that it's racial discrimination and it's less than 5 years after the other racial discrimination violating all NFL players. And we said it. We said it. You have 0 offensive coordinators. You whittle it away at your head coaches. You're using the Rooney Rule to pretend that you're going to really hire somebody, but you didn't. And when you get caught, you run out and hire D'Amico Ryans, or you run out and you hire Aaron Glenn, but you put them on the clock, or you sabotage their team, or you sabotage their players. This is huge. It opens the door to move beyond arbitration, to sue the NFL if you work there. This is huge. And it strengthens any cases that are external to the NFL claiming racial discrimination. It's huge. And they didn't do it on a Friday at 5 o'clock, so they want to talk about it. Let's see what legacy or big box networks talk about these amazing events. This is huge. You don't always find judges to rule against the NFL. What did I say yesterday? They make sure they have people strategically placed. So if you lose at this lower level and you strengthen your case and other cases start popping up, which is why they have a class action lawsuit, it's no longer just Brian Flores. It's 2 other coaches suing with him. That's damning evidence. Eric Jackson might want to go it alone. He might want to flip to a civil lawsuit because the more you have, it becomes damning. And Eric Jackson already knows. He already knows if they toss it out, he going to file an appeal. And that's when I would turn it into a class action lawsuit. But he sued before. He knows his way around the federal system. He knows what to do. But for other people who think about it, you got the green light. You got the green light. More cases of racial discrimination involving the draft, the other quarterbacks, they should happen. Because as fans, we didn't sign up to watch Sheduer be beat like a piñata. I don't care what color you were as a fan. 9 times out of 10, you did not sign up to be lured to watch him to be humiliated in the draft. If you don't like him, don't draft him. You did not sign up if you a Cleveland fan or if you a Shedeur Sanders fan or if you a longtime NFL fan. You did not sign up to watch a fake competition, a coach treat another player that's not likely not to be successful at this level without some help. Treat him like a pet. Use him as a wedge just to hold somebody back. None of us signed up to watch Sheduer or any other black quarterback to be forced to compete when they take a number 1 overall when white quarterbacks don't have to do it. None of us signed up to watch Lamar Jackson, who's been colluded against 3 times by the NFL, be colluded against by the NFL. We signed up to watch a competitive sports game. We didn't sign up to watch plantation fantasies or the NFL try to resurrect Jim Crow. We did not. We did not. This is huge. It's sending a message. See, they thought they curried some favor after the draft. But I said, what? The NFL is looking into the FBI. That's different because, you know, who runs the FBI? Yeah, they have a director. But ultimately, you know who got the last word. Who came in and fired 6,000 agents? Okay, then that's how you know who runs the FBI. So we have gone from the FBI poking around the NFL. Sure, I'm going to start with the NFL Players Association. But if I find some over here, my scope is going to get wider. We've moved on from the NFL Players Association and the FBI to judges ruling against the NFL. That's different. At a time when in the draft, they were being racially discriminatory. Not to just Sheduer, but they hung Sheduer out to dry for everybody to see, to intimidate the next group of players that are coming in that want to be quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders or Caden Salter. This is karma. This is a message. Keep playing. Keep playing. I told you they were arrogant. Arrogance goes before the fall. The plantation is burning. They're beginning to topple. I said Sheduer could survive this. Jalen Hurts survived it, is surviving it. Bryce Young is surviving it and enjoying his time in the NFL. Hopefully Caleb Williams does this year because he was sacked 68 times last year, seemingly in retaliation because he wanted to circumvent the CBA and get the hell away from the NFL. And they said, we're going to draft you anyway. Ruling with an iron fist and intimidation and bullying and harassment. We might not need a congressional hearing after all in Cleveland, but we might get it. This is huge. Let's see how much it gets talked about. So, Ms. Pamela, thank you for bringing that to my awareness. I was watching the CFL looking for Justin Mayers on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and a notification popped up. I clicked on it, read it, and responded to her and said, let me just do some light reading. And I read. This is huge. This is huge. Again, it can get to the top and fall, but that's not the point. The point is, at the lower level, the doors are opening and it provokes conversation and the truth can come out. And one day we just might hear the evidence that is so troubling. And if we hear it and others who've experienced it hears it and they're like, hey, that's what happens to me. That's where further lawsuits come from. That's where further class action lawsuits come from. And when fans hear it and they decide, okay, y'all been scamming us all this time, that's where fans putting together class action lawsuits come from. On the eve of this Philly game, the day after Sheduer gets injured, a racial discrimination case filed by a coach, numbers that they're trying to dwindle away, like they're trying to dwindle away black starting quarterbacks because white starting quarterbacks are becoming a minority. This is huge. The implication is huge for more lawsuits to come forward, and it's karma. Just the fact that the New York Giants were mentioned alone should let you know it's karma. The Denver Broncos, it's karma, because I know I have said Marlon Briscoe's name multiple times. And I know people were like, well, that was in 1968. Baby, they ain't stopped yet. Sheduer can look through every player that came before him as a quarterback in the NFL and see his story and learn how to move to avoid being poked in the lung when you get a what? Standard routine injection for pain. Just take a Tylenol. He should now know you need to get your own trainer. In your free time, you need to keep working out with your own coach. Don't trust nothing. Because if Tyrod Taylor can be traded from team to team and put back at QB2, and he has an active lawsuit, and the NFL hasn't even bothered to fire that doctor that poked him in the lung, I want you to know you are given a standard routine pain injection. And you poke somebody's lung, your lung is not under the surface of your epidermis. You got a ways to go to get there. And the fact that he still works there, that means they weren't scared about him doing it to anybody else because they knew it wasn't going to happen to nobody else. That's what that points to. Tyrod Taylor has a case coming up, a trial. Should be in the fall of this year. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. So you can sue the NFL and survive, but I can't imagine that you're going to get what you want. Brian Flores wants to be a head coach again. Right now, he got to settle for defensive coordinator. Tyrod Taylor wants to be a QB1. Right now, he got to settle for QB2 or QB3. The implications opens the door for other people to finally feel safe to speak up. That's what the implication is. Hallelujah. So that's Brian Flores. I wasn't planning on that, but I'm glad we took the time to do it. I'm glad I took the time to research it again. Shout out to Miss Pamela. So now we're going to move on. First, I want to tell y'all that Jimmy Horn Jr., this is him when they were en route to Houston, right? So he had a special surprise while the Panthers, who arrived in Houston, had a joint practice with the Texans, and somebody popped up on the field. Bucky was filming their practice. So I'm hoping that means that Bucky will film. I'm hoping that means that Bucky will film the game. So again, this is the game we're starting with tomorrow. Shedeur Sanders is not playing from what I understand, unless something changes last minute. I don't know, but football on that side is boring as hell. So everybody seems to be turning their attention to the game with Baltimore, LeJohntay, and this game right here, the Panthers and the Texans. Why? Because Nick Chubb was booted out of Cleveland, and I watched him practice today, and he was balling out against the Panthers. So maybe this is some kind of joyous moment for him that he gets to go to a team. And Houston is a nice city, right? I'm sure he loves the houses there. I'm sure, he loves the vastness of it. It's diverse. It's a lot to do, And CJ Stroud put that team on his back a few years ago. When he first got there, his first year in the league as a rookie, he put that team on his back. And they got cheated against the Kansas City Chiefs. And then in year 2, he had what I call a manufactured sophomore slump, where his O-lineman couldn't get it right. And that same O-lineman was just traded from the Texans to where Jaden Daniels is in Washington. So Brian Flores is right. The NFL is rife with racism. They didn't want nobody to talk about it. They wanted it to stay in-house, with Roger Goodell having the last say-so, which is utterly ridiculous. It meant you didn't take what their grievances were seriously because you don't have a process in place. So Jimmy Horn Jr. was working out, and he had a chance to see Bucky. Total surprise. I guess maybe he thought Bucky would be filming somewhere else. So I'm hoping and praying that Bucky is filming. There it is. That's when he realized it. And they like family, right? They like family. So I'm excited. I'm excited for these guys. This is the game we're watching 1:00 tomorrow. I made sure I should be able to see it. I did my P's and Q's today to make sure I don't have no problem watching this game. If so, I'm gonna be stuck watching the Falcons. And that's not a bad thing, but this is the game I'm gonna watch. Why? Because Sheduer's not playing in Cleveland, right? So we're rotating. And everybody knows why we would watch Cleveland, not just because we like Sheduer better than these guys, because we're showing up visibly and verbally for Sheduer, because he's being put through it, right? So we making sure he's okay. But since he's not playing, we're gonna rotate. We're gonna watch the Panthers. I'm watching the Panthers versus the Texans. I'm trying to watch the Bucks, whoever they playing, so we can see Shiloh as well. So we're gonna be multicasting tomorrow. So we're gonna be multitasking. So hopefully y'all can put together what y'all can put your notifications on and watch the game with us. Okay, so if you watch the caption, you basically saw a clip that had you saw verbiage that said the NFL got it all wrong. So I have another clip to share that kind of speaks to that. But the clip that you're looking at right now kind of goes along with the racial discrimination suit, the claim that the NFL is rife with racism. I wasn't planning to use this clip. It's just something sitting in my content folders. This is Shedeur Sanders with the next generation behind him at prom, turning up to Perfect Timing with his number 144 jersey on. The NFL messed up. Sheduer gonna get his money. And Deshaun Watson can tell him how. And that's why they on the same team together. I told y'all from the jump, I said it is not a coincidence that these two are on the same team. Cleveland has done favors for other teams to be a dumping ground for careers that want to be destroyed, players they want hidden. That's why Tyrod Taylor went through there. That's why RG3 went through there after he left Washington. After they cheated him out of $16 million. So Brian Flores moving forward should be a message to the NFL. Not only that you messed up, because that younger generation behind Sheduer is the same younger generation that was cheering for Sheduer in Philadelphia. You can't win. And what you did to him is a reminder every time you see 144. I don't care if you see 12 times 12. They didn't just collude against him. They tried to destroy him mentally and spiritually, emotionally, and physically. What they did was cruel. He wasn't being punished because he's not guilty of anything. They weren't trying to teach him a lesson. They were trying to get rid of him and make sure he's not a threat to hold the most important position on the team. They tried to humiliate him, and for that, they're going to pay. So Sheduer was accused of having an entourage come in the game with him, right?
First of all, that was your.
He was accused
my bag, Smith.
How big is that speaker?
Having somebody that's supposedly like an entourage come in with him, but that's not what happened.
And that was my bag, Smith.
Come to find out, Tony is the guy that asked Sheduer to come out in a way that he could celebrate. So they got it wrong. So we're going to listen to this, listen to what Tony is saying, how things went. And it's so far different than the picture, the stereotypical picture that the media, who's white, tried to paint against Shedeur Sanders. Take a listen.
I want to empower people. So as
I'm starting over. Hold on one second.
Speaker that you were. Yes. Okay. How big is that speaker?
Was my bag. And that was my bag. Smith said I was carrying his bag. That was my bag.
And that was Shedeur's unreleased song?
Correct.
Okay. And it kept playing on a loop.
Yes. Sheduer is a great, awesome young player. I have a lot of respect for what he represents as a son, as a football player, and as someone who persevered a situation that everyone in the world saw, that everyone in the world that was watching. I want to empower people. So as I was talking to Sheduer and we found out he's starting, I'm very close with him since the first day I met him. Like I told him, hey, I want to be the guy that you can go to whenever, with anything, bro. When I found out he had to start, I'm like, yo, this is my opportunity. I want to make sure that he is exactly what he needs to be on game day, regardless of any other factors that have to do with anything. As a young player, you can like second guess, like, oh man, but people are going to judge. Like they did judge. Like they're going to judge me if I do this. But bro, listen, bro, at the end of the day, you are the one playing. You are the one throwing the ball. You are the one taking the steps. You are the one that's going to lead us on the field today. I love everything he represents as second generation of excellence. I have the highest level of respect for what his father's done with his children and for what his father brought to the NFL, to the game of football. I met Dion when I was a senior in high school at the Under Armour game. My shoulder popped out and he had a quick conversation with me just about perseverance. And I don't even know if he remembers, but, that's somebody I look up to. And so just in that respect that I have for his father, like I felt the responsibility to empower this young man to go have to feel as comfortable in his skin as he can to go be the great player that he is.
So essentially, we're going to listen to this again because there are several nuggets here. One thing that jumped out at me when I was listening to it was his interaction with Coach Prime. And earlier today, I said that Coach Prime's kindness that he paid unknowingly to certain people, DeShone Kizer, after Cleveland left him out to dry at 0-15, trying to make a developmental QB for cheap out the second round at number 53, be their franchise QB. Coach Prime was the one that stepped up with that tweet that they tried to use in the draft and say, this is why Sheduer is in Cleveland. That's not why Sheduer was in Cleveland. And that tweet went out when Sheduer was 16 in high school and had no idea he would ever play for Cleveland or in the NFL. Coach Prime has shown kindness to people. Now, when you look back, because hindsight is 2020, he was paying it forward. Deshaun Watson, Coach Prime was show kindness to him, so Deshaun Watson taking Sheduer under his wing. Now, Tony tells the story about when he met Coach Prime. His shoulder popped out. Coach Prime is talking to him about perseverance. This is why Tony showed kindness to Sheduer off the rip from the beginning. And unfortunately, they refer to him as Crazy Tony. When you listen to him talk, does he sound crazy to you? See, that's what they do with Black intellectuals that speak truth and don't hide or shrink themselves. That's what they do. Nobody should be calling him eccentric. He's Black excellence. And I would love to know who's calling him Crazy Tony. Is it the coaches? Because that's the problem. If they had a white player that was eccentric, are they going to call him crazy? No, they might think it's cool. So we're going to go through this again. And I want y'all to listen to what he's saying, because there's certain things that's going to pop up. First and foremost, Coach Prime showed his kindness. It explains he gravitated towards Sheduer, but I want you to listen to the host on what the host is focusing on, which is crazy to me.
First of all, that was your speaker that you were.
Yeah.
Okay. How big is that
and that
speaker?
Was my bag. And that was my bag. So it said I was carrying his bag. That was my bag.
And that was Sheduer's unreleased song?
Correct.
Okay. And it kept playing on a loop.
Yes. Sheduer is
So, okay, the host is more enamored with the speaker, unreleased music, wants to verify that it's Sheduer's and that it was playing on a loop. Why does that matter? Why does that matter? That's just as ridiculous as wanting to know what Jalen Hurts' conversation was with Sheduer. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Something you don't understand, that you're not privy to, that you're not familiar with, and you want to gawk at it. You want to dissect it. Mind your business. I never even thought about that event with Sheduer coming in again. I was happy he had a Colorado backpack on because he's the same player he was from Colorado. And it proved it. But for Tony to encourage him and Sheduer to say they're going to talk about me, he said, look, man. But look at what the host was focused on. The host isn't even focusing on Tony's relationship, his friendship, his kinship with Sheduer. Did he ask him about the stick he has? If so, it's not in this clip. Some people refer to it as a walking stick. He has it with him all the time. This man is not crazy by any means. He seems to be a kind-hearted intellectual who's Black, something they must not be familiar with. And that says a lot about what they think about the NFL players that are Black.
A great, awesome young player. I have a lot of respect for what he represents as a son, as a football player, and as someone who persevered a situation that everyone in the world saw, that everyone in the world that was watching. I want to empower people. So as I was talking to Shedeur and we found out he's starting, I'm very close with him since the first day I met him. Like I told him, hey, I want to be the guy that you can go to whenever, with anything, bro. And when I found out he had to start, I'm like, yo, this is my opportunity. I want to make sure that he is exactly what he needs to be on game day, regardless of any other factors that have to do with anything. As a young player, you can like second guess, like, oh man, but people are going to judge. Like they did judge. Like they're going to judge me if I do this. But listen, bro, at the end of the day, you are the one playing. You are the one throwing the ball. You are.
So basically, you damned if you do, and you damned if you don't. You the one that need to be good up here to go out here and ball out. Tony's been on this team or in this league. He's a 7-year NFL veteran. I'm not going to say he's been with Cleveland a whole time, but I know they need to stop calling him Crazy Tony. That's disrespectful because he's different from them. And if it's the coaches, and the media ought to be ashamed of themselves. And when people were saying, Bucky came out and said, we got to start holding some of these people accountable. Whoever said that Sheduer had an entourage, I think TMZ and other people, that's who should have got a cease and desist. That's who should have got a cease and desist. This is an NFL veteran. You didn't even know who you was talking about. Sheduer playing his music. He didn't even want to do it because he knew they were going to criticize him. And somebody that his father was kind to came along as an angel, also heaven sent. That means Sheduer have heaven sent people on his path so that he can make it. Jalen Hurts, we saw it. Tony, you hear it. People we don't know probably reaching out to him. On X, Pastor Dewey Smith holding people accountable for what they said about Sheduer coming out the tunnel with an entourage. Your voices matter. He gonna make it. There are people put on his path to make it. And his father paid the kindness forward and didn't even know he was going to need it. He didn't know Sheduer was going to need this. They never anticipated this would happen. So they got a surprise sabotage. That hurts worse than anything. It's one thing to have a disagreement with people that call you family or friend, but it's another thing to be lured in, smile in your face, and pushed off of a cliff, you and your child. And you just got to watch your child be beat like a piñata emotionally, physically, try to ruin his career with all the hard work he's put into it. And the fact that he's damn good. He the best one they got. Not just Cleveland. He's the best rookie. But we said that. They knew he was the best, the most NFL-ready QB coming out of college. But racial discrimination was more important. So I'm glad Brian Flores' case is moving forward, and I want to see the troubling evidence. I doubt I'm surprised, but I want to see it because if people hear about it, if people see it and hear it, they're going to identify with it, and that brings more claims, and that's what should happen. The NFL has worked hard to keep all of this secret, but when it came to Sheduer, they felt emboldened. Well, that's on them because they should have known who they was playing with. And I ain't talking about Sheduer.
The one taking the steps. You are the one that's going to lead us on the field today. I love everything he represents as second generation of excellence. I have the highest level of respect for what his father's done with his children and for what his father brought to the NFL, to the game of football. I met Dion when I was a senior in high school at the Under Armour game. My shoulder popped out and he had a quick conversation with me just about perseverance. And I don't even know if he remembers, but that's somebody I look up to. And so just in that respect that I have for his father, like I felt the responsibility to empower this young man to go have to feel as comfortable in his skin as he can to go be the great player that he is.
So essentially, you know, he was invited on this podcast, and somebody else told me about another one. I haven't seen the other one yet with Cam White. I think I follow him on X too. So I'm gonna have to check that one out and see if there's a different perspective. I want to see more of what they're talking about. Are they talking more about who Tony is, who Sheduer is, rather than the music? Is it unreleased music? Is it Sheduer's? Is it on the loop? I'm like, why is that important? All of this is why all of these guys coming out of CU need to be media trained. All of these black players coming to the NFL, to my dismay, need to be media trained because they don't care about you. They're going to ask you about your peers so you can say something negative about them. So let me see what y'all are saying. You know, again, Jimmy tomorrow, but let me see what y'all are saying. So I'm going to put Jimmy back on the screen. Yeah, Tony seems like a nice guy. I would definitely refrain from calling him crazy. He seems like an intellectual. He has beautiful long hair. He's not afraid to be himself. So, you know, I feel like he's a good guy and he's just different from them. And they just want to hold him accountable. Good content, sis. Thank you, Doug's Diagnostics. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. While you're here, hit the like button. You're not going to get this content anywhere else. It's curated to have real conversation. This is where you come to find your tribe, whether you like basketball, whether you like Colorado, whether you like the NFL, don't matter what team you like. If you like sports, this is where you find your tribe when it comes to sports. If you like NASCAR, we got a NASCAR minute, right? So thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. 175 of us. Please take a moment and hit the like button. If you're new hanging out with us, please subscribe. If you change your mind, just unsubscribe. We're on the road to 10K. We're almost at 5. Maybe you could get us to 5,000. Thank you so much. All right, so let me go through the comments and see what y'all are thinking and what y'all are saying about what we've been talking about. It's a lot of comments, so I'm just trying to get through all the comments. Hold on one second to get to the top. Woo-hoo. Okay, here we go. Let's see who's in here tonight. Gail, how you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Again, thank you, Miss Pamela. I appreciate the content. Hey, Tina, how you doing? Gracie, my day one. B. Thomas, welcome back, welcome back. If Sheduer is not playing Saturday, I'm not watching. Facts. I've already moved on. I've moved on, and the airwaves are empty. Nobody has anything to talk about. I'm looking at Panthers content. I'm watching Nick Chubb ball out. I'm getting ready to familiarize myself with who's on this team, and I'm rooting for Jimmy. That's the game we're going live with at 1 o'clock. I'm just going to have to hear about what's happening in Philadelphia. And to be honest, I don't really care because Sheduer is not playing. So, you know, it's about the Panthers and the Bucks and the Ravens and Green Bay and Jacksonville and Arizona. And hell, I watched CFL today. So I'm supporting all of the guys. I'm supporting all the guys. Hey, Peter, welcome back. Hey, Sharon, how you doing? Hey, Jerry, thank you so much for the content that you sent earlier. Thank you so much. Charlotte, how you doing? Chocolate 313. Mac, hey, Mac, how you doing? Miss Anyway, welcome back. Welcome back. B. Thomas, it said this stirs his nest, Stefanski and Dylan Gabriel. It said the what? The what stirs his nest, Stefanski and Dylan Gabriel. Yes. Salty Vet said Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond is signing with the Cleveland Browns. Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. I saw it briefly. The name sounds familiar. He went to UT. Something happened. Is that the same person? Where did he go? Did he always go to Texas, or did he transfer to Texas from somewhere else? Let me know right fast. One moment, everybody. Okay, so if y'all want to put in the comments what's going on with Isaiah Bond, who he is, where he came from, did he go to Texas straight out of high school? Did he transfer from somewhere else? The name seems familiar. And what does it mean for Cleveland? Because I don't know. Feel free to put it in the comments and we can talk about it. Let's see. Hey, Destiny, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Salafi, how you doing? I will watch on TV. Which game are you watching, Salafi? B. Thomas, Coach Prime is a visionary. Yes. And his son is being mistreated. And CU players, yep. His sons, plural, yep. Hey, Alameen, welcome back. Welcome back. Sounds like everyone is tired of their shenanigans. That's what it's giving. That's what it's giving. But the funny part is they really felt emboldened to do what they did to Sheduer. And now, you know, knowing that they invited Sheduer to the Super Bowl to be a celebrity in the NFL flag football celebrity game, they already knew who he was, right? And they invited Coach Prime to be on the stage with Bill Belichick, who's also implicated in Brian Flores's case, by the way, as like, you know, an ambassador of the NFL, somebody they like and appreciate. But then, you know, for Roger Goodell to say to Sheduer, I'm worried about your pops. Coach Prime didn't know anything about what happened to him. And Roger Goodell is not psychic. They already had this plan. They already had this plan. And they lured them in with a false sense of confidence, especially Sheduer, to make him think, I mean, you standing here talking to the commissioner. Why would I need an agent if I can stand here and talk to the commissioner? Sheduer was in rooms that the reporters couldn't even be in. So they were just jealous. Sheduer was standing there talking to Jerry. And I did feel like Jerry brushed him off and said, yeah, we're going to have to do a lot of trading. Well, let's see if he trade one $4 million contract for the other. Then I'm not saying I want Sheduer to go there. But anywhere but Cleveland is my motto. Anywhere but Cleveland. And I'm serious about that. Because they just not going to do right. With all of this coming down the pipeline, you think that they would just straighten up, fly right, fire Kevin Stefanski, get somebody who's not what is it? A servant? What is it? A servant to something. Most people are not servant leaders of jobs. They need somebody else who's open-minded, who wants to succeed individually and wants to nurture the players, develop the players. Not stand there and fantasize that he had a Klan rally in the woods. You ain't get no badges for this. Yes, both of those teams, the Giants and the Broncos. Yep. So we're talking about Brian Flores' case, the 3 teams he was suing. If you're just not joining us, his case is moving forward. It does not have to go through arbitration. An appellate judge out of Manhattan, the backyard of the NFL league offices, pushed the case forward saying that the evidence was troubling. The NFL thought they had protection. Thank you, Chocolate 313. I appreciate that. I hope everyone they have wronged sues them. Yep. And that's what I'm saying. That's one of the impacts for Brian Flores' case. It should give other people courage. Even Flores himself said he was didn't want to file the lawsuit because he knew he would lose his job. I'm thankful that it's now a class action lawsuit. That's what I'm thankful for. There should be others. Cleveland should be on the top of the list. I was looking at it as soon as I read the 3 teams he's suing, I'm like, Lord, please let Cleveland be on the list. Please let Cleveland be on the list. But when I saw the Giants, I said, it makes sense. It makes sense. And they blocked Stefanski. What the hell does that say? They blocked Stefanski from interviewing. Pat Schumer tried to bring him over there. And that's interesting. That right there. That's interesting. We already got Dan Lanning out there for the golf games, right? That's interesting. Okay. I forgot about that. And I didn't think about that aspect of it. But, you know, birds of a feather, genuinely, those people don't hang out with rational individuals. And the Giants blocked Stefanski. Whew, that's serious right there. That's crazy. When you think about it, that is quite interesting. It's that, they always need a token. D'Amico Ryans wasn't their token. He wasn't intending to be their token. They didn't make him a token. I'm going to tell you what they did, because they did it right after Lamar Jackson. Okay. So Brian Flores sued in 2022, right? So they ran out and hired D'Amico Ryans in 2023 to not appear what? The same thing is happening in Cleveland. They're mistreating Sheduer, right? And they want to run out here next year and get a quarterback with the first pick. And who did I say is making a rise to the top from 5 to 1? Another black quarterback, Lenore Sellers. So they're going to use Lenore Sellers to say we're not what? And I know it's a pattern in a business practice. That's how they get down, because when Lamar Jackson was pre-drafted, they trashed him just like they trashed Sheduer, just with different verbiage, saying he was mentally inept to be a quarterback, made fun of his mental aptitude test, emailed them or sent them around however they was doing it by pigeon or whatever, made sure everybody got it, disseminated to everybody, just like Shedeur Sanders' phone number, which was used in the prank. So instead of a phone call from somebody connected high up, they took his test results and passed him around and made fun of him. They had to get rid of that test. I forgot the Wonderlic test. I actually looked the Wonderlic test up to see what kind of questions it asked. It didn't ask anything about football. It was like math, English. And I said, oh, okay, this is a standardized test to weed out poor people, to weed out people that they think aren't culturally adept to certain things because you're poor. They passed his scores around and made fun of him, said he should be a wide receiver because they didn't want him to be quarterback, just like they didn't want Sheduer to be quarterback with the same intensity. And they pushed him down to 32. But guess what? Had a black GM not stepped up, and I ain't talking about Andrew Berry in the 5th round. I'm talking about a real black GM. Isaac Newsom, who was on his way out. So he didn't fear losing his job because he was already leaving. Traded up to stop the slide, or he would have been down just as far. While his counterparts got contracts of 20 and 30 million, his 4-year contract was a total of 9 million. And when it was time for him to go to free agency, 32 teams stood against him, even though he won the MVP unanimously the next year after his rookie year, his 2nd year. He been through it. He been through it. So you see, he still wear his hair like he want to wear it. You still see he hang out with who he want to hang out with. His mom is still his momager. He's still doing things the way he wants to do it. And he's still paying the price for refusing to switch off to wide receiver. You already heard me say it. What's the difference between Lamar Jackson and Shedeur Sanders? It's not a coincidence that what happened to Lamar is what happened to Sheduer. It's not a new pattern of practice. And Coach Prime was the one interviewing, of all people, Coach Prime was the one interviewing Lamar Jackson all night. That's why I was glad Sheduer did not go to Cleveland. Oh, no, Green Bay. I was glad he did not go to Green Bay because they wanted to get it on film. They was just going to run back the humiliation that they put Lamar Jackson through to Sheduer. And in fact, they did. We just didn't see it on TV all night. And then they turn around and did some of the same things to CJ Stroud when he came out. So Lamar Jackson was 18. CJ Stroud was maybe what? 23? Sheduer 25. Lenore Sellers 26. Caden Salter could be treated just like Jalen Milroe. Meaning we ain't gonna even talk about you. We just gonna push you down. We ain't gonna give you no time. We don't even have to set you up. We don't know you anyway. Yeah. So it's not new. That's why I want to see what evidence the judge saw that she said was troubling. I would love to see that. So he wasn't a token. It's just that after they do something wrong, they run around and try to correct it. So after Lamar Jackson was told he wasn't tall enough, he should be a wide receiver, he was mentally inept, incapable of being a quarterback. He wasn't tall enough. I think he's 6'3", 6'2", 6'1". How tall is Dylan? 5'8", but he cuts the mustard. The very next year, to make it right so they don't appear what? They drafted Kyler Murray, number 1 overall. If you don't know, Kyler Murray is not tall in stature when it comes to quarterbacks. That's what they do. So the next draft, I guess they're going to go get Lenore Sellers, and he's going to go to Cleveland. And in the draft, it's going to appear, oh, no, we want racists because, see, we got Cam at number 1, and we got Lenore Sellers going to go to Cleveland. Okay, I want to see that. And then what they're going to do when he get there? So they're going to straighten up and fly right now. You can straighten up and fly right with Sheduer. So if you don't straighten up and fly right with Sheduer, you are not going to straighten up and fly right with Lenore Sellers. In fact, the reason why you getting the 5th pick off the board at number 1 is so you can do to him what you did to Sheduer. Draft and destroy their career. Delay it, make it harder for them, try to deter them and everybody coming behind them, and underpay them. Get them to do the winning for cheap. They're going to make less money than their white counterparts because rookie contracts are 4 years. So hashtag pay Sheduer is what it should be. So that's it. Troubling is a lot worse than we thought. It's a lot worse than we thought. Hopefully all of this will come out. Yep, I'm hoping it does. I mean, to be honest with you, it should be public information because I read one of the lawsuits in Deshaun Watson's case, the last one that he refused to settle on, that went through a different lawyer. Everything was in there. The text messages, her statements. So, you know, maybe if I get some time, I can find it because I want to see it. It said all things done in the darkness will come to the light. Facts. It says, this appears to be the Sanders family calling from God to put the NFL on blast. Kaepernick exposed it. And look at God. He was biding his time to shut the... Yeah, I agree. And the NFL won't have it. That's what I'm saying. Miss Pamela. I don't think they have it like they thought they did. See, you got to think about this, right? After the Super Bowl, when in racism, I think they said 47 was asked to take it out of the end zone. And after that, I noticed they start letting that flag fly, right? So that meant, oh, okay, we good. So they got bold with it. Then after the Super Bowl is when, so between Sheduer being out there in the celebrity game, in the exclusive rooms, talking to Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell saying, I'm worried about your dad. After that, with Coach Prime on the stage with Belichick, that was around February 8th this year. So right around February 20th, on or before, is when an NFL insider goes to Mel Kiper Jr. and says the NFL does not want quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders now. He was thinking skill set, but on draft night, he realized it was about race. That's why he said it was disgusting, because it's racism. So you knew that before the combine, so you didn't have to invite him. You lured him there, being all nice and inviting him to exclusive places. That's what they did. His dad too. They didn't see this coming, and didn't nobody tell him. That's the crazy part. That's the insane part. You would think Stefanski would have told Pat Schumer. Or, I mean, if he'd have told Dan Lanning, yeah, we wouldn't have got the word, right? But you would think. So that means Stefanski didn't tell Pat Schumer. So they want us to believe all 32 teams passed on him 5 times. took him off the board, locked him out of the first round, but only a few people knew. That's a lie. That's just as much of a lie as when they said his phone number was only exposed to 2 or 3 people and it came from the Falcons. None of that was true. None of that was true. They scapegoated those people too. The email went out to everybody that worked there before the draft, and nobody said nothing. That's crazy. That means everybody got to go. That's what it means. It means you need to clear house from top to bottom. Simeon said, I was going to mention Flores yesterday. Okay. Well, glad you're back today because we did talk about it. Hopefully you joined us at the top of the podcast. It said 3211 equals 12. Look at God. I hope they all come out. Yep. I just need to see that lawsuit. It should be public information. Most lawsuits, if you know the name or somebody involved with it, you should be able to find Brian Flores versus and find it. It said number 2 is not getting productive reps. Therefore, he's having to practice himself before and after practices. Right. He's self-developing himself. He needs to keep his training going with select QB in his free time. So like on his off days, he needs to make sure that he can keep that training going, whether select QB is up there or not. He needs to, everything he learned, that's like you having a trainer at the gym. And when you no longer have the trainer, you remember everything they taught you and you go through those drills. He needs to do that. So Gage is getting a lot of love. I heard Dylan the Gage at least once or twice in the last day or so, which is good, right? Which is good. So essentially, it looks like Florida, they have to come to some type of settlement. And I guess they're going to figure out what an injury settlement looks like. I guess that means money. And then he determines if he's going to come back or not. So, yeah, that whole situation is interesting. I thought they would have just rehabbed him over a hamstring. Hell, we already got 2 quarterbacks with hamstrings. So I just thought that was weird. It said Flores got a text message by mistake and found out the game ran on him about the Giants coaching job. He had evidence. I think that was Belichick, wasn't it? Is it Belichick that sent him the email accidentally? Hey, that boy Wig. It said, without our talent, there is no league. Right. And we need our own. I totally agree. I hope somebody involved with the Sheduer situation will come forward. I told you heads will roll in it. We getting close. This is happening. This is what it looks like when the walls start closing in. The FBI showing up, but they over here. So you thinking nothing wrong. Yeah, okay. And now I have 2 cases in the same week that can bypass the NFL, which means they didn't win this round. One is racial discrimination. You just went through this not even 5 years ago. And you can't say it's coaches and yeah, it's different. The other one was all NFL players, including quarterbacks, because it was concussions, but it's still Black people. So let the public get hold of the fact that within 5 years, the NFL is guilty of violating the civil rights and racial discrimination of Black people, regardless of position. That might be why they have 9 GMs. And look at the work that Andrew Berry does. Those are misdeeds. Luring people in so they can draft and destroy and hide behind you as the GM. That's probably why they have 9 GMs. No offensive coordinators who work with the quarterbacks. You don't even want a Black offensive coordinator to work with the Black quarterbacks or the white quarterbacks. So you don't believe that Black people have the capacity to lead. So why is it that they have the capacity to lead at GM? Because you're going to tell them what to do. That's why. Head coaches make decisions. They pick players. The GM works with who? The owner. The only GM I saw not give a damn what his owner thought, was that GM in New York that should have been fired when they fumbled Saquon Barkley. But that was on the owner. He allowed that man to disrupt his team. It said the NFL denied access. Yeah, that's why I said it's funny how they really thought that doing a favor was going to help them. I told y'all. I know y'all heard me say it. I said the NFL is where? Looking into who? Okay. That's different. The fact that happened should have put them on high alert, but you see they didn't stop. Let's see if they stop now. Let's see if they stop now. Seriously. Let's see if they stop now, because now, you should be a little bit like, how you wanted Sheduer shaking in his boots? You should be shaking in yours. You should be shaking in your boots, because if the public get a hold that there's 2 racial discrimination cases, one involving race norming, which most people don't even know what it is. It's straight off the heels of the plantation. And when you look at their hiring practice and how they started firing all these black coaches, and they have absolutely no black offensive coordinators, 0. And the only place they'll hire black people is the GM, which looks cushy and making a lot of money. But then when you look at Andrew Berry's role into luring Sheduer there and helping to destroy his career and be a punching bag for Kevin Stefanski with further humiliation and collusion, it shows you that that's why they have 9 GMs, because they tell them what to do and hide behind their black skin, because majority of the players are black. Let the public get a hold to it. That's why I want to see who's going to talk about it tomorrow. It's strategic that they dropped it off today, because you got a whole 24 hours to talk about it before the weekend, and they hope it dies on Monday. Boomer is being muzzled for telling the truth. Yeah, they're probably going to try to say he got dementia. They can't get out of this, because look at how Cleveland is treating Sheduer. Andrew Berry used the same language from the draft that the owners used to take the entitled Sheduer. Sheduer has not shown any sense of entitlement at all. But you know who he is entitled? Everybody that worked for the New York Giants. Everybody that worked for the Cleveland Browns. Because they all got their email about what was going to happen to Sheduer and did nothing. And when they saw him throwing to the equipment managers, who was mentioned that they got Sheduer phone number 2, they knew what was happening to Sheduer, and they did nothing. Just clean house from top to bottom. That's what they need to do. Hey, B. Thomas, thank you for the support. Just to support insight and truth. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm like, this is very, very, very interesting. It's funny how it's quiet since Sheduer is not playing. I ain't heard nobody talking about this yet. Let's see if they talk about it tomorrow. They got a lot to talk about. Bucky couldn't get credentials from Cleveland, so he got it from Carolina. Sounds like he'll be covering those games. Oh, he couldn't get are you sure he couldn't get Cleveland, or is that an assumption? How do you know about that, Gerald? Let me know. Let me know how you found out about that. Because honestly, I'm thinking about Houston in proximity to Dallas. Sounds like he does have permission to cover the Carolina games. And that's how he was at the first one. So it's not like he was there for Cleveland, because I think he even said Carolina gave him permission. So that means he's going to be covering their games all season. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. He deserves it, right? He shouldn't be retaliated against. He shouldn't be retaliated against because he's a Sanders and they did them wrong. See, the NFL is backwards, because guess what they could have did? They could have let him film and say, look, we don't have nothing against the Sanders. But they didn't do that because they stubborn. They stubborn. So they made it harder. You're going to have to get, you could do it, but you're going to have to get clearance from the independent teams. Why? Did Cleveland already say no? So I'm glad he got it. I'm happy that, he was out there. Again, the day tomorrow is going to be most of about Jimmy, LaJonte, and everybody else that's playing. We know Sheduer is not playing. I'm sure while we're watching the game live, we're watching the Panthers, Texans, we'll get updates from everybody else. That's just the game I chose to go live with. But of course, while we're live, we'll get updates about the others. And when they go to halftime, we'll see if we can swap over to some of the other games. Yes, there's strength in numbers. Yeah, that's why it should be class action. Yep. Jimmy was happy to see Bucky. Yeah, he was shocked. I was like, yay. He was shocked. He really was. So that meant Bucky kept it a secret. So maybe last week when they did it, it was a case by case, a game by game decision. And maybe he got the nod to go ahead and, work this game too. So it must have been a surprise, meaning, it wasn't an expectation. It's just something that they agreed to. That's good. That's good. I mean, they really like Sheduer too. So, right. We are watching him get publicly hazed. God has put people strategically placed for chosen ones, right? And Sheduer has proven that, and you still going. All right, then. And that's why the walls are starting to close in, because you don't know when to quit. And if you don't quit this time, the truth coming out. Somebody on the inside gonna start talking. Yeah, to call Tony crazy Tony. I'm like, and who's calling him that? He's not crazy. He's an intellectual. So you don't want to believe that black people are intellectuals. So that means you don't respect your black players. Didn't you just get sued for this? See, it just keeps happening and happening. Yeah, who cares about a song? So y'all notice why are you focused on? So it was Sheduer's music. It was unreleased music. It was on a loop. What? Why is that important? What was important is why Tony gravitated towards Sheduer, the kindness that Coach Prime showed him, and why he encouraged Sheduer to be himself. Something these guys don't get the luxury to do. You call crazy if you choose to be an individual and not submit and assimilate. They'll be sued for that. Workplace misconduct is also rampant. We might get that congressional hearing because we got all this other stuff. We might get it. We just might get it. It's not a coincidence two happen in 1 week. It's not. And it's another case out there that should have moved forward by now. We are all enlightened. This is a true movement here. Yep, it is. They must not know the symbolism of the walking stick. Believe me, they don't. Believe me, they don't. They didn't know why Jalen Hurts was sitting on the ground listening to Mays and Frankie Beverly happy feelings after the Super Bowl with something he enjoys, a stogie. They could let him have it in peace. It seems like they feel like their goal is just to disrupt the lives of the black players that they have. So, yeah, I could see Brian Flores' claim of being rife with racism. I want to see the troubling evidence. Might have to take some time to look for it. Might have to be on Patreon with it, though. Can't do everything here. Number 2, have all these players loving him and giving him respect. Yep. And they can't fight that. And that's the next fight they're going to have. That's the next fight they're going to have. I suspect the reason why we know that Myles Garrett has 8 parking tickets or speeding tickets, but we didn't know he had 7 is because as the leader of the team, he embraced Sheduer and said, we're going to need you. They didn't like that. Who cares? Why did you mic up Sheduer anyway? You don't even like him. Y'all don't think that that's weird? Micing up Sheduer, but you don't like Sheduer. He can only start if Dylan is better. Dylan ain't proved nothing. You don't like Sheduer. You don't want Sheduer. You got 6 quarterbacks so you can try to hold Sheduer back as possible. You contemplated letting Deshaun Watson come back to block Sheduer, but you want to mic up Sheduer. It was good for Sheduer. It was. It showed you how genuine he is, how much people like him and gravitate toward him. The referee who used to be a SWAC ref that has moved up to the NFL. That's pretty good. Surprising, but it's pretty good. You know, talking to Myles Garrett, Sheduer's telling his QB coach, who I didn't know that's who that was at the time, that he want to get a deep ball. Talking to the other refs out there with the linemen saying, hey, make sure I can hit a snap. Okay, buddy. Okay. You know, with number 2, the one wearing his jersey, encouraging Sheduer. He need to give up that jersey though. Encouraging Sheduer. I'm ready to start calling him 2 again. So let's see how legacy and big box media, I bet they probably don't even talk about it. They probably don't even talk about it. If so, they're going to touch and go. They could have talked about it today, right? Did they talk about Gruden's case? Then they ain't going to talk about this one. They've been talking about Gruden coming back, his son being somewhere, him working out. I'm like, who are y'all talking about? But they didn't say anything about the case. So if they didn't say anything about Gruden's case, they're not going to say anything about the racial discrimination case. Cleveland is a diverse city, but it's surrounded by sundown towns, which may be why there is a lot of speeding and may also set the racial tone of many. Oh, really? Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. Interesting. His teammates don't see him as a 5th string. Nobody does. They just keep calling him that so they can try to see whoever owns the microphone owns the narrative. They're trying to control the narrative that there was no collusion, that he's rightfully a 5th string. Nobody believes that. And the people that matter, the fans, oh, they definitely don't believe it. Half of the media don't believe it. He's a brother who knows who he is and is unapologetic. Right. And he's telling Sheduer to be unapologetic you. That's what he was telling Sheduer. That's why I said, if he don't have a contract, he might not be there next year, but that's good for him. That's good for him. That's good for him. If you start hearing about trade for Dylan and you start, Sheduer start getting first team reps, understand that these cases, the FBI, the walls are closing in, that they realize, oh, we don't have the protection we thought we had. No, you got played just like everybody else. You got played just like everybody else. Just like everybody else. So I don't know, you know, what you was thinking here. The first conversation should have told you, you know, you never know what to expect. Don't get comfortable. Those using NFL as a stool are all connected. Yep. And they got some power brokers in their corners. That's why this is very, very interesting. The Panthers defensive player told him he could have, yep, I don't want to say that out loud, but yep, yep. 90 people. Would you do the channel a favor and hit the like button? Yes, hit the like button for me, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you. In my James Brown voice, say it loud. I'm Black and I'm proud, right? That's it. That's it. I would send my lawyers on them and send a message. That's what needs to happen with all of these defamatory stories about Sheduer, especially the stereotypical one. And the reason when I use the caption, you know, they got it wrong. They were loud and wrong. They focused on the wrong things. They want to know what happened, but they didn't want to really hear that Tony is like, Sheduer is a great guy. Coach Prime is a great guy. And I was encouraging him to be himself. They just wanted to know about the unreleased song. I'm like, well, the fact that it's unreleased tells you he's not focused on his music. It tells you there are people in that locker room that know they're trying to hinder him and they're encouraging him to be genuine to who he is. That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. Now, the rest of these players need to start standing up for what's going on in their locker rooms. Shout out to whoever it is in Green Bay that stood up and said Malik Willis is too good of a QB to be a backup. He needs to be a QB1 on one of these 32 teams out here. They said he was being loyal. That's what accountability looks like. He already had allies on the team walking in the door. Yeah, but some that he knew should have really been able to be comfortable in public, and they weren't. He even said the energy around the Browns changed right before the Panthers game. There were people that were afraid to be comfortable talking to Sheduer because of all of the bullying. I'm telling you, they never told us Myles Garrett had 7 speeding tickets, did they? Or 6. But we know he got 7 or 8. Right after he embraces Sheduer publicly multiple times and tells him, we're going to need you. Why would they mic up Sheduer? You just want to hear what other people are saying to him? You want to see that Andre Carter is encouraging? You want to see that the quarterback coach knows he want a deep ball, then he get it? You want to see that Myles Garrett is consistently positive? You want to hear what the Carolina Panthers have to say? Why are you so nosy about Sheduer and what people are saying to him? You don't like him, but you mic'd him up. But it worked for his benefit. It worked for his benefit. And they didn't do it for his benefit. They did it for theirs. Oh, watch what you say to Sheduer. He mic'd up. Don't talk to Sheduer. He mic'd up. What did Jimmy Horn Jr. say to Sheduer? I'm mic'd up. Oh, okay. Charlotte said she sent me the video about Tony and why he carries the stick. Okay, I'm gonna go watch it. Thank you. Some people call it a scythe. Is that what is the formal name for it? Let me know. Thank you so much, Charlotte. Thank you to the media team. Y'all been killing it. Thank you. Political Lil. Yes, you are doing a great job. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Jackie, how you doing? It says, good evening, fam. Thank you. Tony, there are angels all around Sheduer. Thank you, Lord. Denzel Washington said on an interview, Sheduer surely. Sheduer what? Play football. I heard he had some strong words for the haters on an interview with a major publication, but I didn't have time to watch it. I was too busy reading about blind Brian Flores and what teams it was he was suing and praying that one of them was Cleveland. It said our ancestors walked with the staff. It was called a staff long before a walking stick. Oh, like Moses, right? Isn't that what Moses parted the Red Sea with? A staff? Yeah. Yeah. Didn't I just say the Lord was getting ready to part the Red Sea? And here comes Tony. Interesting. Willie said he got that stick from Ghana or Kenya when he visited the slave dungeons. And he was told that the stick would help him with emotions from the ancestors. Interesting. Okay, thank you. They just got Isaiah Bond for cheap. Okay, what's his story? Somebody tell me his story. I sent you info about the class action lawsuit. Which one, Tina? Are we talking about Flores? If so, thank you so much. If not, I'll see it after the show. Thank you. Atlanta, welcome back. Atlanta, Africa. We hadn't seen you since what, the spring? Welcome back, sister. You are elevated in word and knowledge of all the shenanigans. Go Buffs, facts. That's why I'm probably on Patreon too. Haven't really done much over there. I was back on, I got 11 followers on Twitch, posting on TikTok. So, you just have to kind of diversify the platforms a little bit because, you got to be different on each platform. But, one could be a contingency just in case. So if you on Patreon, find us at What She Says Sports and just follow. Not much happening just yet. It's just not a just in case, but eventually we'll grow that way. We are not watching the Browns. No, we're not. We're not. Yes, the staff is also a walking stick. Okay. I can't wait to see the Eagles rough them up. I feel like they're trying to get the Eagles to help. That's what I think. I do. I think they're trying to get the Eagles to help. It said the Giants put out the bad interview information about Sheduer. That ball is shown. Yep. The whole ownership, all of it got to go. All of it. Cleveland, they all got to go. New York, the Saints got to go. And I told y'all, one of 47's friends wanted to buy the Saints and the Pelicans. This is pressure. Judkins is also getting signed. Okay, so he moved on from his situation. It said the new guy is yet they blew up the speeding tickets. Oh, you're talking about Judsons. Is that who you're talking about? Judkins or somebody else? Oh, Isaiah Bond? That's who you're talking about? Too tight? Let me know. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know his story. I just saw it pop up on the screen. They said the same thing about CJ Stroud. They sure did. See, they don't know when to quit. Always attacking the intelligence of black people. Facts. That's what's happening. Isaiah Bond played for Saban in Alabama. Then he transferred to UT. Oh, he went from Alabama to UT. They asked Dez Bryant about his mom. What? That's crazy. Prime knew it was coming. He didn't know this was coming. He knew something was coming. He should have known exactly what the plan was. He know too many people in those organizations. He got to know somebody who got the email. He had, unless somebody said, hey, I just got this email and it's about your son, but I don't know what it's about. It was too many people that knew what it was about. Whether they figured it out in the first round when Sheduer got locked out, he knew something, but he never imagined this. And I know somebody had to know that he knows. There's no way. There's no way. Ended up being a 2-time MVP. Yup. You talking about Lamar Jackson? Yup. He was unanimous after they said he couldn't do it, after he was mentally inept, after they said he had a mental slight, after they said he was too short. And because they had done all of that, the next year, they go get a quarterback that's short. Yeah. Playing with these people's lives and careers. These young men have been looking to play this game with this league since they could walk, some of them. Travis said he's been playing since he was 4. Not that we see him as a token. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it. B. Thomas is talking about D'Amico or DeMarco Ryans. I can't figure out was this D'Amico or DeMarco, but it's Ryans, head coach Ryans in Houston. Yep. Got him in 2023 after 2022. They getting sued about head coaches. I'm glad it turned into a class action lawsuit. It does strengthen it, right? And it adds more teams because the other 2 guys, they played for different teams. So, and they interviewed with teams that weren't mentioned probably by Flores. And even if they were, it just strengthens the case against them. But for a judge to say the evidence is troubling, ooh, must be pretty bad. Oh, they talking about Lamar Jackson's mom. I remember now there was a lot of controversy around his mother being his agent. They want you to only do business. Right. When they said Sheduer needed an agent, I'm like, Sheduer was in rooms you ain't never been in. So that's a lie. They were jealous. They were jealous. And they knew what was coming, but they were still jealous that he could go and they couldn't. But they had him there as a celebrity, but they shocked that he's in those rooms because they knew what was coming. Just jealous. The way they try to attack him. Oh, it's only a preseason game. All right, then we'll let Dylan play because I don't see you doing that. If Flacco got to go out here, it just tells you that Dylan is just a wedge, like a shoe, put in between him and Sheduer so Sheduer does not move forward, despite how good he is. But there's never any talk of trading Sheduer. There was no talk of anybody trying to trade for Sheduer in the draft. That sure is strange because he's damn good. I got news for some of them. Sheduer gonna be around, and some of them not. This keep going like it's going. Oh, Simeon said it was Belichick that sent out the email accidentally to D'Amico. That's how he found out he was being played, basically. I'll be glad when we unite and get our own league. Yeah, the guys gotta want to play in it though. They gotta want to play in it, and I see a lot of enabling happening from the guys from the past, right? Look at Chris Carter. Look at Warren Moon. Warren Moon had to go to Canada himself to escape being devalued. Something Sheduer that happened to Sheduer and hell, Lamar Jackson and this one and that one and the other one, right? But for him to come down on Sheduer and see the racism with Kyler Murray being forced to watch film, but not see the racism against Sheduer and say, well, you're a quarterback, you got to be different. I'm like, you're a quarterback, you were different, and it didn't help you. But you want to be relevant, so you're willing to do that bidding. If that's the case, you would have came on to the league, but you ducked and dodged the league and went to Canada because you knew what they were. And they still are. And how can you see it with Kyler Murray, but you don't see it with Sheduer because it's selective? Shame on Warren Moon for that. He even winced when he gave his number one jersey that he unretired to Cam Ward because he knows how Tennessee is. In fact, Tennessee is one of the teams that one of the other players that joined in, one of the other coaches that joined in the class action lawsuit, he was discriminated against by the Tennessee Titans. I was reading the list. I said, oh, makes sense, makes sense, makes sense. I was just shocked that Cleveland wasn't on there. But the Tennessee Titans were too, for one of the other coaches. That's the crazy part. So with the other guys joining Brian Flores, it just strengthens the case. It says right here, Brian Flores, Steve Wilkes, and Ray Horton. I don't know if y'all know all three names. It said Brian Flores, fired from Miami Dolphins in 2022. Flores filed the initial lawsuit alleging the Giants and the Broncos interviewed him solely to fulfill the Rooney Rule, which requires teams to interview minority candidates for head coaching positions. He provided evidence of a text message exchange with Bill Belichick that seemed to support this claim. In other words, this is not a serious interview. Who remembers Eddie George getting an interview for the Chicago Bears head coaching job before he got hired at Bowling Green? Was that the Rooney Rule? It sort of seemed like it. It seemed like a last-minute afterthought. Steve Wilkes, it said Wilkes, who was previously the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, joined the lawsuit claiming discrimination in his own coaching experiences, specifically citing the Tennessee Titans. I have got to read it. I told y'all Tennessee is one of those teams that try to fly their flag under the radar. They try to be slick with it. Ray Horton, a longtime NFL defensive assistant coach. Horton also joined the suit, alleging that the Titans gave him a sham interview to comply with the Rooney Rule. In other words, the Rooney Rule was supposed to help increase the numbers of, Black coaches, diversities, this and the other. It was just something to do, right? It was just something to do to pacify Black head coaches. And instead of the numbers growing, their numbers are dwindling, with 6 at the beginning of this season and now 4. So I'm glad they filed that suit. I'm glad they risked it. He said it. You know what? If I lose my job, it's worth it because it'll help future coaches down the line. He's right. The same thing with, what's going on with, Sheduer. That's why I said Sheduer can survive this. There's more and more cases of people popping up that have survived this. Brian Flores, the other 2 coaches we just talked about, right? And then we got Jalen Hurts. Look at how they're treated. So if I don't want Black offensive coordinators and I don't want Black quarterbacks leading the way, and if I don't want, I guess you could say offensive coordinators, head coaches, and quarterbacks, I don't want any of those to be Black. I'm trying to now dwindle away at the head coaches, but then I keep going up and I have 9 GMs. It tells you I just want a puppet. I don't want you to have no influence. I don't care if you're good. I don't care if you're an intellect. I don't care if you can win me games. I don't want Black people leading the way, head coaches, offensive coordinators, and quarterback. Plantation is burning. It's just slow. Might be getting, a little bit more oxygen to it. That almost broke Coach Prime. He had no idea they hated him as a Black man. Yeah, but love his gifts and celebrity and the money he can bring to the table. They love being close to greatness because, And it's crazy to me, right? It's crazy to me that they stabbed that man in the back. I'm like, are y'all serious? Of all of the people, you get somebody that everybody loves, that's evil. You were willing to stab him in the back and push him off a cliff when you was just at Colorado's first game, all 31 of y'all. They was likely pretending too, because they already knew what was going down when the season started. It's just sad. It's just sad because it's really just racism. There's no other explanation for it. And when people want to talk about, oh, look at the other quarterbacks who went first. Yeah, look at their careers. They're going to get you coming out of college. They're going to get you pre-draft. They're going to get you during the draft, or they're going to get you in your career, but they're going to get you. Yeah, they did it to Sheduer in the draft, and they still trying to get him in Cleveland. But they didn't do it to Cam in the draft because we was watching. Remember, Tennessee did not want that pick, and they needed a quarterback. And now Cam is competing with the guy that failed. And after he got hurt, Cam is competing with the third string guy. If Cam was white, he would not be competing because J.J. McCarthy has 0 ounce of film before this first preseason game, and he has been given the keys with 0 film. Just total blind trust. Cam is proving the best. Sheduer is proving the best. But they are developmental projects, or they have to compete. Making the road harder for Black coaches, the non-existent Black offensive coordinators that are likely all fired. And now just Black quarterbacks. That's ridiculous. And this is just strictly over race. And you can't deny it anymore. There's no other way to explain what Stefanski is doing, holding back Dylan, who is proven not to be that guy. That he willing to go out there and risk it all out of desperation to coddle Dylan and throw Sheduer under the bus, just to hold Sheduer back, to lie about who Sheduer is, to not develop Sheduer, to put Sheduer in harm's way, to set him up to fail, set him up to be harmed, neglecting him. He's a head coach. He's supposed to create a supportive environment. He has neglected his job duties. And with Dylan's numbers, 6-19 in Philly, and now 1-5, Kevin Stefanski should be told, find your way back to Cleveland. I don't even need to see what he do in this game. Because if he does well, you helped. You begged, you pleaded, you agreed to do favors. Because he's not good at this level. Somebody got to go. And it's going to either be Stefanski or it's going to be Sheduer. Because if Stefanski makes a 360 like he did earlier this year, Sheduer better watch himself. Can't trust them servant leaders of a job. Competing with a third string QB. Yup, they got Cam competing with the third string QB, saying, oh my God, he's the franchise QB. I said, but he's still competing for his job that no other quarterback has done. Had Cam ranked number 8, J.J. McCarthy number 9 out of the quarterbacks coming in this class. Now, Sheduer was nowhere to be found, but he the best quarterback that's out here. It even said when the article closed about Cam, but it's not guaranteed he's going to be the starter. And then it goes on to say before it closed about J.J. McCarthy right underneath Cam. Minnesota has given J.J. McCarthy the keys to the Vikings. That's Jim Crow. That's the Jim Crow you hear me talking about. When it comes to the quarterback position, they can't stand these Black quarterbacks are this close. I mean, this close to being the majority of the starters. And it's going to go from 17 to 18 real fast. It should have in the draft. But with injuries, it could get to 20. That's why they're stacking Black quarterbacks on the same team, because if they spread out, people like Malik Willis, it's probably going to be 2025. They're doing everything they can with the same intensity and irrational behavior that Kevin Stefanski exhibits towards Sheduer is the same intensity that the NFL is exhibiting toward all black quarterbacks for the same reason, to hold them back from the most important position on the team. It's the same thing. All right, y'all. So we are 47 minutes in. Tomorrow is Friday. We'll be back tomorrow. 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Members only live stream Friday. That's what we're having tomorrow. And then, Saturday we have the game, but I'll be back tomorrow night, probably about 10:35, just to wrap up the day, with the daily live stream. So follow me on all platforms, and I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. Please make sure to subscribe. If you change your mind, just unsubscribe. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. If you did not on the way in, there are 200 of us. Thank you so much. Thank you for finding your tribe and hanging out and watching What She Said Sports. I appreciate the vibes. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you for watching What She Said Sports. Be sure to join our daily live stream and listen up to What She Said Sports on the go on Spotify. Thank you for watching What She Said Sports. Stay for another video.